Yeah. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it is. It's been a long time since I seen my nigga, cause the last time was the last time I seen my nigga. Yeah, I'm in my feelings, cause the last time was the right time to tell my nigga to stay out the way. And tell him he ain't gotta hustle, he ain't gotta steal. And if I make it, he made it. Let's go get him out of here. I know a change coming, but before the blessing, man, it's a storm coming. Let's both get home, it's cool to run from here. Tell him that I know, it's been a long grind. I know it has, man. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. But I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it is. I told my folks a change coming. They looked at me and said them words don't really mean nothing. Where we from, even the preachers don't mean nothing. They need to see something. So I reached in my pocket and gave it to them, cause it means something, yeah, to me. Tell them that I know, yeah, I know. It's been a long ride. I know it has, man. It's been a long time coming. But I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it is. It's been a long time coming. But I know.
How is everybody doing today? I guess that cold pack did not work for Biden, as he is officially stepping down, and it looks like Kamala's up. So, I don't know why I quit screen sharing. Now, this is The Guardian. Oh, wait, it's something to say live. He was at the summit in Italy on the 13th. Is that where he got the Rona? And he endorsed Kamala and stepped down. Trump tells CNN he think Harris will be easier to beat. Of course he did. Because that's just the kind of guy he is. Okay, let's see if we can find anything. There we go. Now, this is Fox.
The second term there for re-election, posting it on social media earlier on today, of course, saying that he is best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of the term.
You could have did this weeks ago.
Urgent questions surrounding the 2024 presidential race. Some for the U.S. Secret Service reeling from serious security failure.
And how come this dude right here, he was at somebody's party just
surrounding the attempted assassination of Donald Trump 8 days ago. The agency is finally acknowledging it did indeed deny requests by Trump's team for additional resources and personnel over the past 2 years, after initially claiming those charges were not true. Said Trump's campaign manager, Chris LaCivita, quote, "They lied." This amid serious questions for President Joe Biden, who is wrapping up his medical isolation period after a COVID diagnosis. His political isolation continues as more than 30 Democratic lawmakers are now.
In my uninformed opinion, I think they waited too late. It's 4 months left, and they done wasted 3 months trying to cover up
openly
the fact that Joe is elderly.
To step aside, given his political weakness.
We knew.
And unanswered questions about his health and cognitive fitness. President Biden says he's not going anywhere, announcing plans to campaign this week and meet with the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, on Tuesday. Still, as many agitate to push him out of the race, it's not clear exactly how Democrats would pick his replacement or if a new candidate would definitely perform better. Joining us now to discuss all of this, independent Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, should President...
He looking like he said about damn time, but you need to be on the wheelchair behind him rolling out the door.
Biden step aside or keep running?
Well, Jake, I haven't said anything for 3 weeks, a little more than 3 weeks since
the
debate. And I thought the first week was needed for the president to evaluate, talk to his family, his staff, and make some decisions. And I thought that might happen. And then the next 2 weeks, I was saying, well, let's see what my colleagues who are in very difficult races, whether it's in a statewide race as a senator or in a district or as a congressperson, they've been speaking out pretty loud and clear, thinking it has an effect on them. And then seeing the donors, which campaign finance is the mother's milk of campaigning, you know that. Makes it very challenging. With all that being said, my prayers are with the health and well-being of my friend, the president. And I believe that he has a chance, an opportunity to finish the 5 months of his presidency with the way he has always, basically overseen his office.
It is 1:34 p.m. Central Time. I'm putting it out there now. They better not try no shenanigans. I.e., fun fact, did you know that if the current president passes away before his term is up, the vice president take over? Hey, Aces. Are they gonna make Joe take one for the team? I don't know.
Office, whether it be a senator or as president, wanting to be that uniter, bringing us together, being able to bring peace to the Middle East, being able to support Ukraine in the fight for freedom, and also being able to show the whole world how the transfer of power can be done by the superpower of the world in a most respectful way. I'm hoping for that because I think he'll leave him with a tremendous legacy as one of the greatest leaders that we've had. And I say this, and I came to the decision with a heavy heart that I think it's time to pass the torch to a new generation.
And how would that be done, do you think?
I'm very hopefully, Jake, that it would be done in an open process. I think that we have a lot of talent on the bench, a lot of good people. And I'm partial to governors because a governor can't afford to be partial. They can't afford to be partisan strictly because that pothole or that bridge doesn't have a D or an R on it. I've got two tremendous governors right next door to me, and Andy Beshear in Kentucky and Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, who are operating with legislatures either evenly split or completely opposite of their party affiliation. They haven't divided their state. They haven't made you pick a side and demonize the other side. They've brought people together. This is what an open process would do, I think. It would bring more people out in a process that could bring Democrats like me back.
So obviously you're calling for President Biden to stop running for re-election.
I want him to be the president in the last 5 months of this presidency of his
Twitter, his IG is basically gone. It's been eclipsed by all the scammers scamming as Eugene. Ain't nobody heard a peep from him in a hot minute. Nature Boy called out of jail more than Eugene do. Whoo.
Term to do what he can do is unite our country, to calm down the rhetoric and be able to focus attention to peace in the world. Campaigning, I've been through statewide campaigns many times. It's an unbelievable challenge. Mom, West Virginia has done heavy lifting in Appalachia to make a deal. And that's who he is. And that's what this country needs. That's what the world needs in the next 5 months of his presidency.
All right, Senator Joe Manchin, independent of West Virginia. Independent of West Virginia.
You know what? They need to win me back. They need to win me back.
I just have the muscle memory of saying Democrat of West Virginia. Independent of West Virginia. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
I thought it was live. It ain't live.
I had the wrong lead-in. John Meacham, thank you very much for joining us. You're on the phone for us. When did you last speak with President Biden?
I don't want to talk about conversations with.
You know what? Almost everybody in Congress got a head full, not just white hair, but a head full of white hair. It don't make no sense. They all old. They all old enough to have great grandchildren. Some of these folk got great grandchildren running around here. Think about it. Let's take a break from him real quick. How come? Good morning, they got a video. This is no.
Yeah. Hands on your head.
Hold on. Where is it? So my spicy white. Oh, I know where I saw it at. Or rather, whose page I saw it on. I'm dropping stuff. Oh, I'm finna go off topic. Who gave Shamar a restaurant? There you go. This guy right here.
I'm just thinking with my dick. My shit gone.
Everybody wondering, is that him or not? Besides Kamala, not really nobody, because she on the campaign trail. Who else they got, aces? Who else do they have?
The president, I'd like to point out that this is a singular moment in the history of the American presidency, and a singular moment for a man who, as Mike was just saying, has given the lion's share of his life to the service of the republic. It is almost without precedent in the American experiment.
I want my pudding cup. Y'all keep forgetting to bring my pudding cup with lunch. And I would really like, if I don't have enough sugar, I cannot operate as Supreme Commander in Chief. Don't forget it again.
For a president to make a decision like this, I think it tells us an enormous amount about the character.
You know what? I ain't in the military no more. They can't call me back. He looked like an old boy off Hannibal.
Of the incumbent. It tells us a lot about what he truly values. President Biden has decided that this campaign is not about him, but about us. It's not about personal ambition. It's about the durability and viability of the constitutional order that so many of us believe could be in danger as events unfold. And I think before we race ahead, as we will inevitably do in about 5 seconds, because that's what we do in America, I think the country should take a moment and realize the magnitude of...
Now, the question is, who are they going to use to prop up Miss Harris or Mrs. Harris?
The decision that President
Who are
Biden
they going to
made
choose as
for
her running mate?
the good of his country. And
Because the pickings is
certainly
slim.
it's
See,
he respected reality here.
this is what happens when people don't step down when they're supposed to. When people step down when they're supposed to, somebody younger comes in and steps in, and it continues. But these mofos stayed around so long that everybody else just said, bump it. We ain't going to get in anyway. Now you stuck with the same repeat cast of characters over again.
He likes to say he's a great respecter of fate. And history and fate brought him to the pinnacle of power at a late season in his life. But I believe, and he is my friend, I help him when I can, so take this for what it's worth, though I am not a Democrat. I try to call these as I see them. I think he stood in the breach for us at a moment of creeping autocracy that was the creeping might be threatening to come into galloping. And he brought that set of skills, he brought that sensibility to the American arena at a critical moment in the life of the nation. And he has put the life of the nation above his own political, individual ambition. And I think that is a remarkable thing that we should acknowledge and honor.
Absolutely. This is the first time in 56 years, since 1968, that a major party will nominate a presidential candidate that didn't enter any primaries. Most of us, well, I certainly haven't been through a situation like this. I'm 40 years old, so I'm.
Bruh, that is not a win for us. Why Whoopi Gold? No. No. Why a celebrity? Why it's got to be a celebrity, huh? Oprah Winfrey? I mean, Whoopi Goldberg? It's synonymous. But yeah. Oh, Lord,
by
it's
16
start
years.
raining again.
It's going to be one of those moments that in entire chapters, entire books, if you're studying American history, will be written about how.
I ain't even finna say nothing. I'm just finna flip over this screen right here. Y'all make y'all own decisions.
How will Joe Biden be seen 56 years from now? What will we be? What will
56
have been
years from now, he ain't gonna be around.
And what he did in this moment.
President Biden has. Remember how this drama started? We were a nation in the grips of a global pandemic. We were a nation where trust and faith in institutions was in a precipitous decline. We were coming through an era where so many people
Oh, it's thundering loud. Mm-hmm.
So many people believed that the American experiment, the American consensus, which is not always commensurate to our problems, but a consensus that really had shaped us from Franklin Roosevelt through President Reagan, through President Obama, a world in which we saw politics as a means of resolving problems as opposed to going to total cultural war every single day. That consensus was facing an existential crisis. And President Biden, who beginning in his 20s, entered the public arena.
And he 81. He been doing this for 60 years. Joe is on repeat. And that's why it took him this long to drop out, because he forgot that this is the 47th presidential campaign and not 40th. Mm-hmm.
Border state politician, right? Delaware is a small state, but complicated. A Roman Catholic part of the 20th century world. He learned the ways and means of the Senate. He learned the ways and means of America. And learned the world as a foreign policy guy. And then history and fate brought him
man got
to
early
the vice
onset
presidency.
dementia.
For,
and they just been letting him. That doctor could have been called this. The doctor could have been called. Could have been called this, but no, let him go.
one of the most historically interesting figures in American history, President Obama. And then it brings him at a point when we thought his political story was over. It was not. And rather like Cincinnatus, right, the ancient figure who was called to service, he ran in 2020. And in many ways, and let's also remember the personal side of this. And I want to say this very carefully. Whatever happens to President Biden politically will never be the worst day of his life.
Again, y'all.
Because he's had two.
She finna bust out them trucks again. You know, Obama been in there begging Biden. Hillary been in there begging Biden. Nancy Pelosi went in there and begged Biden about 2 days ago. Would you please step down? Joe, we old. We gotta let it go. And he's we ain't old. I'm 56. Joe, you are 81. This is a travesty that the doctors of the White House let this continue. First, do no harm. You harmed the whole nation, you wobblehead.
He lost a wife and a child in a car accident. He almost lost his two sons in the same accident. And then he lost his son to cancer when he was vice president.
It ain't Joe's fault. It ain't Hunter's fault neither, because he had his own problems. His wife, she's at fault. The doctor, they at fault. Anybody that had the power to shut Joe down without Joe shutting them down, they at fault. No, I'm talking about letting him run like this. Man got early onset senile dementia. Do you know how? Shadow.
He is a respecter of fate, as he says. And so
look at him. That's why they call him Creepy Joe right there. He looked like he peeping in somebody's bedroom. Y'all forgot they used to call him Creepy Joe? He needs to be.
So he thought in many ways that he had passed the torch already to his son Beau's generation. And then fate passed it back. And he took the torch and he stood against a big lie. He stood against an insurrection. He stood against illiberalism. And he gave the Constitution another chance. That's what history is going to say.
He also stood against a global pandemic that was ravaging not only this country, but the world, and helped deploy the vaccine and get it under control. John, I'm going to steal this quote from Nick Kristof, who mentioned it in one of his recent pieces. It's attributed to Lenin, although there's argument about that. There are decades when nothing happens and weeks when decades happen.
Get off my lawn! I done told y'all you kids. Get off my lawn. One more basketball falls over here. I'm keeping it. Loud kids always disturbing the neighborhood.
It's been one hell of a week.
It has. And it's, look, this is what history is. This is what life throws at us. And you know what it reminds me of? And I think it's probably worth on a summer Sunday for us to maybe take a moment or two. That may sound pretentious, but I'll say it anyway. I think we should remember that a democracy is the most.
I tried to call you the other day. Did you change your number? Even I ain't said you little.
Most human of enterprises. right? This isn't some clinical thing. It's not a monarchy that goes by tradition and native. It's not a birthright thing. This is a complicated, disputatious country that has chosen to try to recognize that each of us is created equal in the eyes of God and should be treated equally throughout our lives, that we are sacred and sacrosanct people. And it's really, really hard to run a democracy because it's about those sacred individuals. It's about our habits of heart and mind. It's about how I see you and how you see me. And that gets down to a question of character. Democracies don't work if we don't give as well as take. And that's a counterintuitive human thing, because most people, including me, would much rather take than give. That's been true since the 3rd chapter of Genesis, right? And so we have this, we set the hardest possible task in front of us. And President Biden knows this in his bones. He understands the complexities of politics. That's why part of the decision he made today. He can read a poll. He can read a room. He can read a nation.
What?
And what he saw was that the wisest course forward was to let these values, let this vision of what the country should be carried on by those who share his vision.
See, look at it. The majority of the room is elderly. This looks like visiting day at the nursing center. Shame. Shame. Shame.
In this hour. And if we don't,
back in my day, Sonny,
if we don't see each other as fellow citizens and folks, as opposed to reflexive rivals and
term limits, and they need to be enforced from now on.
Enemies to vanquish by Chiron and tweet and headline and attack every hour of every day, then democracies don't work. Because if every day
we're
is
not a democracy,
war,
we're a
Republican.
Maybe if you start treating it as a Republican,
entirely determined by whether or not I win a particular political moment, then there's no way to recognize that the other person might be right. And I think what President Biden has done here, I really do. I think it's in the best traditions of the country. And I can't say enough about what I think of as a brave decision.
John, if you were crafting an exit speech for a president and that president wanted to hand off the reins to his vice president, how might you write a pitch to the American public for that vice president?
I'm sure this is very hypothetical. I think, speaking historically, I think you say, I believe in an America where all people are created equal. I believe that prosperity,
once again, creepy Joe,
and security and dignity and decency.
Officer, I told them not to be on my lawn, and they toilet papered my house.
Are vital American values, but they are not guaranteed. And therefore, it is essential for Americans to understand of the person to whom we give ultimate power, because ultimate power can be used for good or for ill. That's the story of our history. And so look as deeply as you can, my fellow Americans, at the values, the character, the vision of the person to whom you want to trust temporal power. And if you want that person ultimately to have the fates of your families in their hands, that's the person you should vote for. Character matters enormously here. We have seen this again and again and again, because, as you said a moment ago about history happening so quickly, You just don't know what's going to hit that desk in the Oval Office. And so you better be very.
Okay, so Remy finna go live in like 2 minutes. I need to grab something to drink because I'm going to be live with him. So let me go ahead and shut this one down because he can't get in if I don't get out. So I'll see y'all on the other live. This is Tripsy's Treehouse, where it's always swing.